Do you perchance remember this absolute lunacy? Where Deadspin wrote the article, "The NFL needs to speak out against the Kansas City Chiefs fan in blackface and native headdress. Chiefs fan on Sunday in Native American headdress and blackface." This actually went on to be spinned into a whole thing, where it's like, oh god, the racists in the NFL, how could this possibly happen? Somebody must speak out against this damn child. Oh, it isn't blackface, is it? Oh, how very unfortunate. And now there's a lawsuit. Yeah. Remember that? Well, Deadspine's dead. the publication that did all of this nonsense, that is indeed also getting sued, etc., it's dead now. It is properly dead. GO Media sells off Deadspin to be entirely gutted. They've been sold off to a European publisher who will fire everyone on the site and presumably sell all of their stuff off at bargain bin prices. Now, whether or not they're interested in continuing the brand in some way, probably, I'd guess. They probably want to rename it to something a little bit Deadspin 2, Deadspin not quite as aggressively racist, Deadspin 2, we're not actually against 9-year-olds. Something like that, because there is still obviously a degree of value in the brand name, right? Or at the very least in the people subscribed to it, and so on and so on. There's still a degree of value here, even though you might need to dig down deep, and you gotta get rid of a few fleas to get at it, but a complete gutting. Oh, God. It feels good, it does. It really genuinely does. See, this is something that we've been waiting for a very long time. A very long time indeed. For so many years, we were looking at all of the woke media institutions and wondering to ourselves, how on God's good earth aren't they dead yet? Well, it really just turned out that they had a lot deeper pockets than we thought. And of course the fact that the culture had still not turned to our side yet. Back in 2014, when a lot of this nonsense originated, we were not in the cultural vanguard by any stretch of the imagination. We had no idea what was going on. We were no wiser about the underlying causes of why newspapers or news sites like Deadspin would, do something like this. We were no more educated on this than the functions of the innermost workings of the sun. It was voodoo to the majority of us. Many, many years later, however, a lot of things have become far more obvious and far more transparent, even after a lot of digging was required to unearth a lot of it, and now we can begin turning the culture around, as culture, as I've said earlier, dominates the wallets. There was no way we could hit these publications in the wallet when they were being backed up by hedge fund corporations that managed trillions and trillions of dollars. There was simply no way we could compete with that in any actual functional sense. And so even if organizations were literally not earning money for years and years, they would still be around. In fact, the recent example of Rooster Teeth is a brilliant one of this. Rooster Teeth, according to reports that have now come out, was not profitable for 10 years before being closed down. 10 years of not earning any money. There's the reason why these competitors of ours, quote unquote, managed to move on like zombies for so long. Because other corporations simply just use them as tax write-offs. Oh, our sister company is losing money. Well, as it turns out, our other companies aren't. So we'll just move over the taxes we were supposed to be paying on profits there onto this company. And voila, we've got more money. There were plenty of actually good reasons to keep around sinks like Deadspin for quite some time. But as the culture began to change, the wider corporations began taking bigger and bigger hits as well. No longer were Deadspin the outliers, they were becoming the norm. no longer were they a tax write-off, they were just yet another liability in an ever-increasing series of liabilities. Look at Disney, right? The sheer size of a corporation like Disney has no problem whatsoever maintaining losing corporations for years and years and years. I mean, when they moved into streaming, I guarantee you they did so fully expecting to lose money for at least 4 or 5 years before finally becoming profitable. You can look at their earning calls where they're placing forth like paths towards profitability, and they're like 5-6 years into the future. They understand that it takes a very long time to establish yourself, to build the brand, and to actually build up the customer base that is needed to pay for your projects. And for the longest time, they were able to do so. A view of 10 years didn't seem like a whole lot when you had the ability to get so much investor money. And you could also play on this politically as well. Bearing in mind, for all of our outrageous screaming and so on, wokeism was not just the norm, it was the popular norm for very, very many years. It still is in the institutions. The levers of governmental power still rests solidly in the hands of the progressives, not in ours. I mean, we've just started launching effective boycotts in the last couple of years. The Bud Light uprising was probably the first truly successful example of an anti-woke grassroots movement making a genuine dent in a major corporation. For as long as we've been fighting, our effective fight has only really just begun when you come to think of it, which is both demoralizing and heartening at the very same time. As now, we can of course actually see the effect of our hard work with these media organizations getting shut down, with there being actual genuine consequences for literally making shit up just to feed the outrage machine that was oh so profitable back in 2014. Again, do not underestimate the amount of power that these people used to have, the amount of cultural influence they had. I like bringing up this example recently, but Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn at the United Nations doesn't just happen out of nowhere. They used to have such tremendous cultural force behind them that they were able to literally warp reality into whatever they wanted reality to be. And that explains why this seemed to make sense to them, why this was a headline that they not only wanted to run, but in the end, double down on, right? It seems absurd, and yet this was the reality in which they lived for 10 years. And the occasions of pushback were few and far between. And even when they did happen, alright, some cuts, maybe here and there, a firing or two, a little bit here and there, there's just some minor consequences. Maybe somebody loses their job and moves on to another identical online page, but not today, not anymore. Now they're actually dying. Now these websites are actually being gutted. Now their staffs are actually being let go en masse. Now the only value in Deadspine is literally the word itself, the letter combination as a brand. Whereas the people working there, their equipment, their years of history and breaking journalism, etc., is not only not worth anything, it's actually an active detriment. Something that somebody who buys it views as nothing more than collateral damage to their investment, that if they're lucky, they might be able to pawn off somewhere. Maybe they'll be able to sell the computers and the overpriced Apple laptops on eBay for a couple of bucks. And that is all the name is worth. And again, that's even assuming they bought this with the intention of making something out of it. They might simply go, okay, we have bought this thing at such a hilariously low price that we're actually going to make a profit just selling whatever hardware it owns. Because from the parent company's point of view, now it's not a write-off anymore. Now It's an active monetary black hole. Because as I have maintained, for the majority of these companies, it was never really about the ideology. Oh, it was an ancillary thing, sure, it was a motivating factor, absolutely, but it never overrode the need to make profits, the need for greed, and the need for the employees to eventually collect the paychecks somewhere else. Hopefully, anyone that goes off Deadspine will be radioactive to the rest of the industry, as they should, if there even is an industry to flee to at this point, which I hope there isn't very, very soon. And for the rest of us, well, celebrations are yet again in order. Here's to many more to come, I guess. I've been Arch, thank you all very much for watching, and thank you for sticking with this side, the, what do they call it? The right side of history, for long enough to see it finally make a difference. Have a good day.